Now in section 5 here, though, we're going to be multiplying polynomials together. And what I mean by a polynomial is we're going to be taking maybe a binomial. Well, bi meaning two means that we're going to have two terms here. And a trinomial is one that has three terms. And you understand what the distributive property is. We've been using that a lot. So here's how you multiply a binomial times a binomial. Let's take, for example, x plus 2. We're going to multiply it times x plus 3. It's really the distributive property just a couple of different times. In other words, if this plus 2 were not here, wouldn't we be taking x times x plus 3? Well, of course it would. That's what the problem is saying to do. You're multiplying this first binomial times the second binomial. So we would be taking x times x plus 3. And then if that x weren't there, let's take it out for a second. Wouldn't you be taking 2 times x plus 3? And that's what we're doing here. And using the distributive property, we'd have x times x, x squared, x times 3, 3x. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 3 is 6. Note that these two middle terms are going to be able to be combined because they're like terms, and we get x squared plus 5x plus 6. So let's try number 1. X times x, x squared. X times negative 4, negative 4x. Then you have 3 times x, and that's positive 3x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Note the two middle terms get combined. So your final answer is x squared, well, negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1 minus x, and then minus 12. Final answer. Number 2, 7x times x. Well, that would be 7x squared. 7x times negative 2, negative 14x. Then you're going to do the same thing with the negative 6. Negative 6 times x, negative 6x. Negative 6, now remember you're multiplying here. Negative 6 times negative 2, positive 12. Two middle terms are going to be combined. 7x squared, negative 14 minus 6, negative 20x plus 12. Final answer. Now, you'll hear a lot of times people will be talking about using the term FOIL. FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, and last. Well, the F, the first, means take the first term times the first term. Some people will use this method, 3x times 4x. Now, when you multiply those together, the first term times the first term, you get 12x squared. The first term times the first term will give you the first term in your answer. And then the L being last, it would be the last term here times the last term here. 1 times 3 is positive 3. Now the outside terms means the 3x times the 3, and that would be plus 9x. And then the inside terms means the ones that are closest to each other, and that would be plus 1 times 4 is 4x. Again, these middle terms are going to be combined. That's a positive 13x. So your final answer would be 12x squared plus 13x plus 3. In number 4, 7n times 7n, 49n squared. 4 times negative 4, negative 16. 4 times 7n, positive 28n. 7n times negative 4, negative 28n. Notice in this case, these two middle terms will cancel out. Positive 28n and negative 28n cancel. So your final answer is 49n squared minus 16. in number 5. X times x, x squared. 3y times negative 5y. 3 times negative 5, negative 15. Y times y is y squared. Take 3y times x and you get plus 3xy. Take x times negative 5y, get negative 5xy. The two middle terms combined. 3 minus 5 would be negative 2, so you get negative 2xy. Final answer, x squared minus 2xy minus 15y squared. Number 6, let me ask you something. Do you think this answer would be A, 4x squared minus 1, B, 4x squared plus 1, C, 4x squared plus 8x minus 1, D, 4x squared minus, let me back up there, 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. Well, if you're thinking either of these two, A or B, the answer's out. Here's the reason why. Look at the patterns that we've had all the way up through number 5 here. In number 1, when I took a binomial, I took a binomial times another binomial. 2 terms times 2 terms, I got 4 terms. Now, granted, the middle terms were able to be combined, and I got just one term in the middle there, so I ended up with a trinomial. Number 2, a binomial times a binomial, I ended up with a trinomial. A binomial times a binomial in number 3 ended up being a trinomial. Look at number 5. A binomial times a binomial ended up being a trinomial. Look at number 4. Look at the pattern. I want you to pay specific attention to the pattern here. 7n plus 4 and 7n minus 4. Because I started with the same number here as the same number here, I ended with 4 and 4. Now look at the pattern though, is that one was a plus and one was a minus. Yeah, I did start out with 4 terms. The two middle terms canceled and I ended up with 4n squared minus 16. But for the most part, when I take a binomial times a binomial, I'm going to end up with a trinomial. The only thing that was different in number 4 is that the two middle terms were able to combine and cancel out, and that's the reason why I got 49n squared minus 16. Long story short, number 6, 2x minus 1 quantity squared means to take 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1, and this is FOIL. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. But look what happens in the middle when we do the bottom part of FOIL. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. 2x times negative 1 is another negative 2x. Your final answer, 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. To find the area of a square, we're going to be taking x minus 4 times x minus 4. It's another FOIL problem. X times x, x squared. Negative 4 times negative 4, positive 16. Negative 4x here, negative 4x here, negative 8x in the middle, x squared minus 8x plus 16. Page 2. Now things get a little bit different when you take a binomial times a trinomial. And I'm going to show you a few different ways to do these. And then I'm going to let you pick the best, not the best way, but whatever method you want to use. Now the first method, I'm going to multiply a binomial times a trinomial, is just simply the distributive property. And I'm going to take x times x squared, and I'm going to get x to the third. Then I'm going to take x times negative 2x, and I get negative 2x squared. And then I'm going to take x times 1, and I get positive 1x. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the 2. 2 times x squared is positive 2x squared. 2x times negative 2x is negative 4x. And and 2 times 1 is positive 2. Now, at this point, make sure you go through and combine like terms. X to the third, there is no other x to the third term. Negative 2x squared and positive 2x squared cancel. There are no more x squared terms. I have positive x minus 4x. 1x minus 4x is negative 3x. Bring down the plus 2, and there's your answer. Here's another way of multiplying this out. Generally speaking, most people don't like to use this way, but I'm going to throw it out there just the same. If we had 1,902 and we wanted to multiply that by 64, and you didn't have your calculator, what would you do? Well, you'd take the smaller number and place it underneath here and multiply, right? Take 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 9 is 36, carry the 1, and so on and so forth, right? Basically the same thing. We're going to take the smaller one and put it underneath the larger one, 2x minus 1. I'm going to start with this negative 1 here, and I'm going to multiply it times everything in the top row. Well, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and negative 1 times negative x is positive x, and then negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared. Now I'm going to indent one space just like we would do up here, and I'm going to do the same thing with 2x. 2x times 2 is positive 4x, and look at my like terms lining up. 2x times negative x is negative 2x squared. And then 2x times x squared is x to the third. And now you can see that we have our like terms lined up in a row. So x to the third, negative 1x minus 2x, negative 1x squared minus 2x squared is negative 3x squared. 1x plus 4x is 5x, and then you bring down the minus 2, and there's your answer for that one. The third method I'm going to show you is the way I like to multiply a binomial times a trinomial. I think this is the simplest way, the way that helps you keep track of everything the best. And you can even use this method on a trinomial times a trinomial. A lot of people will refer to this as a Punnett square. I call it window panes. Make a window panes. In this case, I need a 3 by 2, three boxes across the top and 2 across the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2a squared minus 8a plus 3 and write that across the top. So here's 2a squared, here's minus 8a, and here's plus 3. And then the 3a plus 4 is going to go down the side. I'm going to put 3a here and plus 4 here. Now, in order to get this first box in the upper left-hand corner, multiply the two things that meet up those two sides. In other words, take the 2a squared times the 3a. 2 times 3 is 6, and a squared times a is a to the third. To get to the next box, I'm going to multiply negative 8a times 3a, and I take negative 8 times 3 is negative 24, and a times a is a squared. Then in order to get the third box, I'm going to take 3 times 3a, and I get positive 9a. To get the bottom row, I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to take 2a squared times 4, get 8a squared. I'm going to take negative 8a times positive 4, get negative 32a. And then I'm going to take 3 times 4 and get 12. So now, how do you come up with the answer? Well, you add the diagonals, meaning this. Go from the top right-hand corner to the bottom left-hand corner, and the 6a to the third, that's the only a to the third term you have, so nothing to combine there. But when you go to the next set of boxes over, well, you have negative 24a squared plus 8a squared, and that's negative 16a squared. And you keep going across. Your next diagonal will be 9 minus 32 is negative 23a. And of course, positive 12. So here's what I'm going to have you do. You can stop the video now. You do number 4 with it, whichever method you want to use. Do number 4. Come back and when you're done, and in fact, go ahead and do 4, 1 and 2 at the bottom if you want to. I'll have them written out for you when you come back. So go ahead and pause the video, do the next 3 problems on your own, and come back and when you're done. All right, so let's see what you have. In number 4, I have 3x squared times 8x is 24x to the third. I then went with 16x squared minus 6x squared is 10x squared. Negative 8x minus 4x is negative 12x, and then plus 2. Now number 1 here at the bottom, make a 3 by 3 window pane. I call them window panes, Punnett square, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter which trinomial goes where. I put n squared plus n plus 2 on the top. It could have gone along the side. Doesn't matter which way you do these, but I had n squared plus n plus 2 on the top, n squared plus 2n minus 1 on the side. N squared times n squared is n to the 4th. Then I have n to the third plus 2n to the third is 3n to the third. In this diagonal, I have 2n squared plus 2n squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is positive 3n squared. In the next diagonal, it's 4n minus 1n is 3n. And then, of course, in the last square, you have minus 2. And in number 2 at the bottom here, we have 6x to the 4th. In the red diagonal, I have negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13x to the third. Then it's negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4x squared. 8 minus 5, 8 minus 3 is 5, so you get plus 5x. And then, of course, finishing up with minus 4. Hope you did well. Good luck on your assignment, and we'll see you in class.